would do the, what's it called? The Ultimate Book Tag. This was created by Megan on Goodreads from a few years ago. I think 2011 or something like that. So it's a little bit old, but still good. So basically we're gonna answer some book-related questions. She'll probably answer more than me. She has prepared a few things, but some of the questions you don't know what they are yet.
I don't know what any of the questions are.
Yeah, so
it's all gonna be
I'm excited.
surprise.
Okay. So the first question, jumping right into it, is do you get sick while reading in the car?
Yes. However, when I can lie down on the back seat, I can read. And the big joke in my family was that my parents, when I was growing up, my parents did a lot of traveling. And so they joked that I grew up in the back seat of the car, but that I never actually saw any of the places that we went to because I was always reading on the back seat of the car. And they would say things like, remember when we went to the Grand Canyon? And I'd be like, we never went to the Grand Canyon. Yes, you were reading Harriet the Spy in the back seat, you know, when that happened.
Right.
So yes, I do, but I can't.
Yeah.
If I can't see the motion going past.
I feel like I would probably be the same, but I don't know that I've ever actually tried lying down in the back seat.
Well, you had a brother to play with.
It's true. It's true.
So,
Morgan and I always did things together on road trips and stuff.
Yeah,
so.
Road trips were fun for us. You guys had
all the I Spy games.
Yes, we'd take the
middle seat. Games.
We'd take the middle seat out of the van, and they'd make their fort in the back when they were little, and they'd play all the car games.
It was good times.
Yeah.
Not quite so book related for Morgan and I, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, question number 2. This one I won't be able to answer at all. Which author's writing style is completely unique to you and why?
Which author's writing style is completely unique to me?
So, like, I'll give a for instance, because this question definitely confused me at first. But the series of unfortunate events is kind of an interesting one because the author talks to you the entire time and is basically begging you to not keep reading. It's very weird, but like in a charming kind of way.
That's a good example.
Yeah.
The whole style of those books is very unique. To start from the premise that you're about to read a set of books that's a whole series of unfortunate events, and yet they're still so funny.
Yeah.
If any of you haven't explored those books, you really should.
Do it.
She just devoured them.
So good.
I remember she read like 5 in one weekend.
It was
or
something like that.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's really good is the language. The writer is wonderful, and he would, whenever he says an unusual word, he'll figure out a way to put the definition in there so you know what it means.
It would be like such and such, a word here meaning blah 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 blah.
Right. They're very clever.
They're really good.
And really fun to read.
Yeah.
In fact, I was just thinking that this summer that's another series I'd like to revisit and read again.
That's a good one. Yeah. So I don't know if you have any other... that one might be one that's hard to come up with on the spot.
I suppose that I would have to, again, refer to Tolkien. I mean, the Lord of the Rings and all of his writing, it's so musical. And being a professor of linguistics at Oxford for his job, his whole immersion into ancient languages comes through in a way that's so beautiful and so poetic in those books. Again, if you're ready for a big challenge to read, definitely read the book. The movies are wonderful, but they really only give you a sense of the plot. They don't give you that beautiful language. The way he writes, his style of writing is just like, for example, I thought there might be some Tolkien questions, and many of you know how many different editions I have of The Lord of the Rings. But this was my very first copy of I have all 3 of them, but when I was 15 and first introduced to these books by my algebra teacher, you can see that the cover's even gone, and the other part of it is a bookmark. But it's just so beautiful. I can't even find words to explain how much these books have meant to me over the years. So
I think it's kind of interesting that your algebra teacher introduced you, not
yes.
an English teacher.
Yes. He wasn't unlike my great-grandfather. My great-grandfather was an accountant, but also a speed reader, and he read 2 books a day. And my algebra teacher read a book every day. He'd go into the library at school in the morning and pick up a book, and he'd return it at the end of the day. He was just a really fast reader. And he read Lord of the Rings 4 times a year. So at the beginning of each season change. I only do it once a year. There's so many other good books to read. I'm not as fast a reader as he is.
She's pretty fast, though.
The kids always joke that when I'm reading, there are scorch marks on the page because I read so fast.
Well, Lord of the Rings is definitely one of the books that I really want to read this year. Like, I haven't read any of them yet, and I was going to try and make it my New Year's resolution this year to get through all 3 of the Lord of the Rings books. I really, really want to, because we watch the movies every year.
Yeah.
And I love the story so much, and obviously enough that I named my dog after one of the characters. So, Mary our dog. But yeah, good. All right, next question. Very serious question. Harry Potter or Twilight?
Oh. Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Not even.
I mean,
not
Twilight
even
is great, but like, let's be real.
I know that there are a lot of people out there who have issues with the Twilight books, but what I'm very grateful to the Twilight books for is really making a reader out of Emlyn, because that was the first time that, well, I mean, she just got totally immersed.
Totally.
And then all these other books she got into because she basically learned how to just dive into a book and lose herself in a story.
Reading Twilight, it was the first time I'd ever shushed my family while I was reading. We went away on a holiday, and all I wanted to do was stay inside and read Twilight.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, you guys have to leave me alone because I'm busy reading.
And every time we'd ask her a question, all we'd hear is shh.
Including things like, do you want some food now?
Yeah. Do you want dinner?
If any of you know me at all, for me to ignore food, that's a big deal. So, yeah. But still, Harry Potter.
It's an incredible series. I know that not all of my students have read it, or at least I think you've all read it multiple times, some of you.
Yeah.
Rihanna.
Yeah. You know, I still haven't read all of them.
I know. I didn't want to bring that up.
I'll admit, I have no shame. I haven't read 4, 5, and 6. But I read 1, 2, and 3 when I was younger. And then before the 7th movie came out, I wanted to read the 7th book before I watched it. And I remember being terrified because we went to see part 1 of movie number 7. And I hadn't finished the book yet. But I knew that they'd split the book into 2 movies. And so I was like, I hope that they don't ruin anything for me. And when we went to see the movie, I was so relieved because the point that it stopped was literally the point that I'd stopped in the book. And so I'd like just squeaked in. But I did manage to finish book 7 before watching the 7 and 8 books. Or 7 and 8 movies.
He's a little baby.
He is a little baby. He's getting a bit fussy. Okay, so the next question, this is going to be a long video. Do you carry a book bag? If so, what's in it besides books?
Oh, hence the book. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So I do have some book bags which I pulled out to show, but basically what I carry is a big purse that the kids refer to as my Mary Poppins bag. And I...
You could pull a lamp out of that thing.
Yeah. I always have a book in it, and if I'm past the halfway point in the book, I have a second book because, you know, you don't want to be out somewhere bored waiting for somebody to come out of a building that you're picking up and run out of your book and have no backup book.
This is true.
And I usually have a little small knitting project, like a sock, like I'll have socks in it, and then my usual purse stuff. But I always try to carry a bag that's big enough to hold books and knitting. But, yeah.
I don't really have a book bag. I have my purse, but I really just carry on my phone wallet.
Yeah.
As long as I've got that, I'm fine.
Yeah. Well, I have this one bag that says it's backwards for you guys, but
we'll try and flip it.
There's no such thing as too many books. And the drawing, for any of you who don't know, is by Edward Gorey.
So you guys can see. There we go.
Edward Gorey, who I just love. If any of you watch the mystery series on PBS, he did the opening credits for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Neat.
But he was pretty much known for being an artist with his beautiful pen and ink drawings, but his writing is also superb, and he did so many little small books. Just handy right here. Amphigory is a compilation of 15 books, and they're just marvelous. If you get a chance to have a look at them. Weird.
So.
Definitely weird. Black humor, but very funny.
All right, next question.
Yes.
Do you smell your books?
Yes. Book smells are,
the best.
Yeah.
And in fact, due to this whole situation that we're in, I had to remind her that getting library books might not want to smell those right now.
Yeah, but now the libraries are closed.
Now the library's
anyway,
closed, so it doesn't really matter.
No.
But yes, book smellers. I definitely smell my books.
Mm-hmm.
You do the first open.
I think that's why I can't really wrap my brain around getting a Kindle, because it's the feel of holding a book, the turning of the pages, and
the smell.
Yeah, and the smell.
As Joey says, half the taste is in the smell. I don't know.
Joey from Friends.
You'll get it if you watch the show. All right. Oops, I lost my spot. We'll edit this out. Books with or without little illustrations?
Either.
Yeah.
Both?
I feel like I'm not picky.
I'm not picky. I love when books are illustrated.
Mm-hmm.
I love the folio books, even though they're so expensive, but they're so beautiful, and they've hired some of the most incredible illustrators working today to illustrate some of these books. For instance, Angela Barrett, who was primarily known for her children's picture books. If you've ever read The Hidden House, it's our favorite. But she's done books for folio, including Anna Karenina, and they're just beautiful. But even something like the Little House on the Prairie books that were illustrated by Garth Williams, I believe, and they're so sweet, the little drawings that are in them. Oh, and the Narnia books, right? The Narnia books, they have the most beautiful little illustrations.
Yes. And just a side note on The Hidden House, if you guys have never heard of that book or, anything, seen it, read it, whatever, go find it.
Definitely.
It is one of the most beautiful things you will ever look at.
Yes.
Illustration-wise.
Yes. It's by Martin Waddell. He wrote the book, and then, of course, Angela Barrett illustrated it. And it is just...
It's beautiful. It's a work of art,
We bought several copies because we were worried that it was going to go out of print. And I want to make sure that the kids...
We have copies.
Yeah. But if you can find it, it's wonderful.
It's really amazing.
We should maybe even just read it aloud sometime.
That would be nice.
Or have Dad read it.
Yeah. Dad loves reading. Our
narrator.
storyteller.
Our storyteller.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay. Okay, here's a good one. Do you have any funny stories involving books from your childhood? So, I mean, I feel like for myself, going back to the comment that you made about the series of unfortunate events, when I was like 11 or 12, I think I was reading those books. And I read them so quickly. Like, I don't think anyone knowing me could really fathom how fast I read those books. And I remember being at my grandparents' house over the weekend. They lived in the States, and we were over visiting them. And so, you know, they don't live here. I should have maybe been paying more attention to them. But I stayed in my room and I read like 4 or 5 of those books through the weekend. And I remember I ran out. I ran out of books. Like, I'd finished all the ones that I'd brought with me. Mm-hmm. And what did Grandma say? It was something like...
She's just like you.
She's just like you.
Yeah.
All she does is sit in her room and read.
All I heard growing up was, get your nose out of a book and go play outside. Ew.
Ew. Outside bad, inside good.
Well, my funny story involving my childhood and a book has to be The Harriet the Spy. Mm. I was obsessed with that book when I was little, and I don't know how many times I read it. I don't think it's there. Anyway, I used to dress up like Harriet. So I'd put the jeans and I had a red hooded sweatshirt, and I'd put a belt on, and I'd hang the flashlight, and I'd take the notebook and everything, and I'd go around the neighborhood. I remember doing this especially at my grandmother's house. We were visiting her in Great Falls, Montana. And like you,
everything's happening at the grandparents' house.
Should have been paying attention to my grandma. Instead, I was going around like Harriet the Spy and hiding in bushes and spying on the neighbors and writing all the things down in my Harriet the Spy notebook.
We don't recommend doing this now, maybe.
No, gosh.
But
not a good plan.
No,
but that's a weird story.
That's a weird story from your childhood.
Very weird childhood.
I don't think I actually knew that.
So we're getting to know.
We're getting to know each other. That's funny. Okay. Do you write as well as read? Do you see yourself in the future being an author? I already know the answer to this. This is why I'm asking.
Yes, and I don't know if I necessarily see myself in the future being an author. I write for my own enjoyment at this point. I would love to write more, but you know, there's only so many hours in the day, and I'm really involved with my teaching and my music, and you know, if the opportunity became available, of course, yeah. I've thought about a couple of the things that I've written, maybe making a small limited run and self-publishing them, and just making them available to the students if they want. But yeah, I think
she's a really good writer. I've read some of her stuff, and I think that she should publish it. But to each their own.
Yeah, we'll see how the next couple of years unfold.
Okay, what is your favorite book?
Oh, Lord of the Rings, hands down. Okay, but since I've already talked about that, let me just maybe mention a couple other favorites. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Absolutely one of the most beautifully written books I've ever read. It will always be one of my top 5 favorite books. I've mentioned a lot of my children's books that are favorites.
Do you want me to take my dog back?
Yeah, I'll just show you a couple. These were last year's favorite children's book, which many of you know, Sweep. Read it with a box of Kleenex. You'll just bawl your eyes out. but it's so uplifting at the same time, and so full of warmth and heart and love, and it brings to light the whole history of children chimney sweeps during the Victorian era, the stuff that I knew nothing about. The book is laid out so beautifully because it mirrors Blake's Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience, and so the book is divided into two parts so it mimics that. It's beautifully written. He also wrote The Night Gardener and Peter Nimble and His Fantastic Eyes. He's a marvelous writer. The year before, The Girl Who Drank the Moon. Absolutely one of the most beautifully written books I've ever read. When I posted on Instagram about it, my caption, I said, I felt like I had to knit a sweater for this book because I just loved it so much, and I wanted to keep it cozy and just absolutely wonderful. One of the other books that I was going to recommend, if any of you haven't read Under the Egg, by Laura Marks Fitzgerald. Wonderful mystery, really, really excellent read. So those are some of the recent kids books that I loved. I would also have to cite The Wizard of Oz, of course, that whole series. It's one of the reasons that'll be next year's Miss Nightingale's Theatre, because we both love the series so much. Anything by the Brontes, Jane Eyre, it's one of my favorites, Wuthering Heights, and of course any of the 6 books by Jane Austen. They're absolute favorites. There's a lot of favorite books, and probably as we go along, in the book recommendations I'll mention some of them, but those for starters.
Yeah. I think, growing up, I was always led more to the, super, I hate to say super childish books, but, the ones really geared towards little kids. I just find them hilarious. And so one of the series that I was obsessed with, and am still, as a almost 30-year-old adult, totally obsessed with,
Fun way to go.
not that long, is the Junie B. Jones series. I love those books so much. They are so funny. I just cry laughing so hard. And in fact, Mom got me for Christmas. There was a new Christmas book that she came out with. I had it here because I'm prepared. Junie B. Jones, Jingle Bells, Batman Smells, P.S. So Does May. Sorry, May. It's not about you. It's spelled with a Y. You're fine. I am halfway through this book. I started reading it yesterday. It's very, big, can you see? Big print, it's not a hard read by any stretch, but it's written, for those of you who aren't familiar with this series, it's written as the sort of kindergartner, or now the first grader. And so the grammar is terrible, but it's just so funny. I should have, find something funny to read from it, but what's the beginning part? I'll edit this out if it's too long, but so the book literally starts, chapter 1. This is her journal. Tuesday. Dear first grade journal. Yay, yay, hooray! Today is the last week before winter break. Winter break is the school word for I gotta get out of this place, I tell you, because Blabbermouth May is driving me crazy. She is tattletaling on me almost every day. That's how come yesterday I chased her down on the playground, and I threw grass on her head. It was very fun. Except I hope Santa did not see me do that. That guy watches me like a hawk this time of year. From Junie B. Jones. So, you get a sort of a sense of just the hilariousness that happens throughout these books. And there are so many. I think there's a list in here of
At least 20.
there's at least 20, you know, all of her being a kindergartner and going throughout that year, and then she finally graduates into grade 1. And it's still just as funny. I was reading in this and telling Mom yesterday that I was laughing so hard because they have a music teacher in this book that they call Mr. Toot. You know, he probably has some other totally normal name, but their first grade teacher, they call him Mr. Scary, and their music teacher is Mr. Toot. Yes.
Bless you.
Bless you. So I just think these books are hilarious, and no matter how old you are,
Yeah.
I think that they're worth reading.
Exactly.
You know, they're just too funny. It's too worth it. Just for like a lighthearted read, you know. They don't take you very long to get through. They're really thin little
Yeah.
books.
You can
normally
read them in a sitting.
Exactly, but they're just so funny. So I love the Junie B. Jones series, and obviously the series of Unfortunate Events, which is totally different from the Junie B. Jones series.
But if you're looking for something right now to just totally
Lift spirits
and take your mind off things,
happy,
it's a-
lighthearted, funny.
very good series.
It's really good. Yeah. And I feel like, yeah, man, Mr. Sneezy. I feel like another one of my favorite books is Matilda, definitely.
Matilda.
I loved the movie so much growing up, and it wasn't until I think I was in my 20s when I finally read the book. Well, I hadn't read it yet.
We didn't read that one when you were growing up?
I don't think so, because I remember being really surprised at the little differences in the
We read
in the
other
book from the
Roald
movies.
Dolls.
Yeah. But Matilda is just such a fantastic story, and it's a good book. If you like the movie and you haven't read the book yet, you should read the book.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think it's my favorite Roald Dahl book.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all about a girl who loves to read. What's not to love?
Can't go wrong. Let's see. What is your favorite word? This is kind of book related.
Well, I've always loved words that sound like the thing that they are.
I was hoping you were going to say this.
Like the word mud. Mud. I mean, that word is just so musical in
Yeah.
a weird way. I love the word finger. Finger. Just. How about you?
I have no idea what my favorite word is. I really like the word flimby
Oh, yeah.
because when you can't think of the word to say, you say flimby and it applies to anything. Another Friends reference there for any of you who watch the show.
And,
goodness.
And floopy.
And floopy, yeah.
Never
I mean,
Friends
I feel like as a singer, I should have favorite words, or at least words that I hate.
Yeah.
Like, words that are hard to sing. But yeah, I don't know if I actually have a favorite word. I mean, sparkle is pretty great.
Oh, sparkle's a great word. Again, a word that sounds just like what it is.
Sparkle. Yeah. Okay, now here are some, like, which one do you like better? So,
Okay.
vampires or fairies? Kind of a weird combo.
Put them both together.
A
know?
vampire fairy.
I mean, I have yet to read a book about vampires that I didn't love.
But who doesn't like Tinkerbell?
Well, or any fairies, any fairies. Yeah, that's too hard.
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Okay. Shapeshifters or angels?
Oh.
I think it would depend on the angel.
And it would depend on the shapeshifter. It would depend on the book. Like, like it depends on how good the writer is, you know?
Like if we're talking about that shapeshifter from the movie Sky High where all she does is turn into like a hamster or whatever, like that's not cool.
Oh, yeah. Although the movie was funny. I liked the movie.
I thought the movie was horrible.
But, there's some really good books about angel visitations. Like the book Halo, that one.
Yes. I
And
read that, but I don't remember it much.
And Sharon Shin wrote a series called Archangel. Those were really good. Really good.
What was the one Where the angels had all the like tattoo things.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's,
goodness.
I can't remember
Yeah.
now. But yes, that's another.
We'll put that
We'll
in
put
the
that one.
description box.
Ink something.
No.
No?
I don't think so.
No, that's
Maybe.
another series. Maybe.
We'll put it in the description box.
Okay.
Okay. Spirits or werewolves?
Werewolves.
Oh.
Oh, totally. I love werewolf books.
My nose is itchy.
Whoa! I mean, Professor Lupin, is that not one of the best characters ever written?
But then again, you go back to, you can't beat Harry Potter.
Well, exactly.
So, okay, now here's another vampires or zombies.
Vampires.
Yeah, well, yeah, because who wants the zombies? I was thinking like Walking Dead, which I love.
Right.
But we don't love the zombies in that. We love the people in that.
Yes, and that's more for the TV series because we haven't really
That's
read
true.
the
I
illustrated
haven't read
books.
well,
I've read the first
comics.
one, but I illustrated
Graphic novels.
Graphic novels.
Graphic novels. Get our terms straight here.
I don't read a lot of graphic novels. I have started to in the last year or so. And there's some good ones out there, but I haven't explored a lot of them.
Okay. Plot question. Love triangle or forbidden love?
Oh, Forbidden Love. Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah. Love triangles can be a bit problematic because
They can get a little Twilight.
well, not only that, they can also get a little too predictable. Whereas Forbidden Love can go in a lot of different directions.
That's true.
But having said that,
No matter which bookshelf we sit in front of, she can always grab something from it.
if any of you have read the City of Bones books but haven't tried the Infernal Devices series, give this a go. This is perhaps the best love triangle series I've ever read. So again, it's the Shadow Hunters who are the group of people who.
That's not the one I was talking about?
Oh, maybe it is.
I think that is.
Oh, is this the one
I
you were
think
talking
that's the
about?
one I was
Okay,
talking about.
so City of Bones.
City of Bones.
Yes, it's true. They do, but they're not technically angels. I think that's what's.
Oh,
that's what
were they
kind of
not
threw me.
angels?
No, they're shadow hunters, and so
Oh,
while
I
they
thought they
do
were angels.
have,
I don't think I finished the book.
yeah. Well, the City of Bones, I wasn't thrilled with that. I mean, they were good. I enjoyed reading them. She's a good writer compared to a lot of YA fiction these days. But these, she nailed it. Okay, so these are set in Victorian London, and it is a love triangle, and it is one of the most fantastic love triangle stories I've ever read. And the last part of the third book, there's an epilogue that's about 35 pages long, and I 2 o'clock in the morning, just bawling my eyes out reading it, and talking to one of my students at the time, Michelle, and she was saying that right as she started the epilogue, her mom came in, it was midnight, and took the book out of her hand and made her go to sleep so that she could get up for school the next day.
Mom, gosh!
Like, Margaret! So I was just devastated for her, and I was like, oh man, if you'd been my kid, I would have let you keep reading and skip school the next day.
Sorry, Margaret.
Sorry, Margaret. But anyway, this is a really good series, and the first of the next trilogy has just come out. It's going to be Edwardian England. So she's the City of Bones were more contemporary times, and then so she's filling in the pre-story that comes up before this. So I'm very excited to start the next one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, those are all the questions that we have.
Okay.
Unless you have any other things that you would like to talk about that's book related.
I feel like I want to ask you some questions.
Oh, okay. Well, go for it.
Can I see the list and see if there were any that we missed?
I definitely skipped some.
Because I feel like yeah, here's one we didn't.
Okay.
What is your favorite classic book? I was asking one of my students this a little while ago, and we had a really interesting discussion about how books affect you when you read them as a child, and how they basically form you and change you. And we read some interesting classic books. Like, for instance, if I gave you two and you had to choose,
Yes.
Charlotte's Web or The
Okay.
Little Princess.
Oh, I'd have to go with The Little Princess. Like,
Excellent, yeah.
Yeah, hands down. I think that book, I don't know. Charlotte's Web is wonderful. It's a very sweet book, but I think there was something that I wanted to relate to with The Little Princess. Like,
Yes.
when we read it, I was probably close to just that young age.
Yeah.
And so, like, I would be dreaming about life in an attic.
Yeah.
And just all of her things that she was going through. I don't know. I, like, wanted to put myself in that book for some weird reason.
Yes.
So I feel like I would definitely pick that one.
Yes. Good.
Charlotte's Web.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, and if you love The Little Princess but haven't read The Secret Garden, that one, that apparently there's a new film coming out, though none of us are going out to see movies right now. Oh, here's a good one. What is the thickest book on your shelf?
Oh my gosh.
Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell is the one that's true. That's an excellent book. I suppose Lord of the Rings would be.
Yeah. I think for me, either the fourth Harry Potter book or the one, I haven't actually read it yet, but what's that one called that's like, it's like red on one side and blue on the other side? It's like, not Hugo. Or and it's like pictures.
Oh yes, the you have Wonderstruck upstairs.
Wonderstruck.
Those are so good.
I feel like,
although
maybe it's not that thick.
they're very thick, but that's because of the illustrations.
Right. But I'm
it's-
just thinking, like, in terms of
Yes,
fatness.
those three books: Hugo Cabret, and Wonderstruck, and The Marvels. We've told all our students about those. Those are just three absolutely fantastic books.
And actually, while I'm thinking of it, The Doll People.
Oh,
If you guys haven't read that book, I think there's two, or are there more than that?
I think there's three.
There's definitely two. I think there might be a
Doll
third one.
Family.
Yeah, but the first one is so good. He's so squirmy. Oh.
Yeah.
First one is so good. It's kind of like Borrowers-esque. Like, they're really small, you know, little dolls, but they, like, wander around and they can't be seen by any of the people.
Yes. It's totally what you believe as a child,
Yeah.
that when you leave your bedroom, all your dolls come to life and
Yes.
start playing. And, yeah.
In, like, a very sweet way, not a creepy way.
Yes. Yes. Not in a, horror film kind of way. Oh, here's a good question. What book did you love while reading but discovered later it wasn't quality writing?
I don't know.
The answer in this question was the Twilight series.
See, that popped into my head.
Yeah.
I think for me, I don't feel so comfortable judging other people's writing. I think I would feel more comfortable now, but like growing up, I didn't pick up on stuff like that as much because
That's good.
I didn't read so much that I knew whether it was good or bad. I just sort of read it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I read some garbage growing up. Like, I mean, there was, I would get those, like, Scholastic books that were based off, or I don't know if maybe they were books first and then movies made, but I would buy, like, the book version that was made after the movie.
Like the Lizzie McGuire book.
Like, I forgot about the Lizzie McGuire books. Yeah, those. Or I was thinking that movie that Mary-Kate and Ashley did, who I was, like, obsessed with growing up. But they did a movie called, I think it's called A New York Minute. And I think Eugene Levy is in that.
Oh, is he?
I think. Maybe not. Maybe I'm totally out to lunch with that. But they wrote, there's a book based on that with them on the cover and everything. And I remember reading that and enjoying it because I'd liked the movie. But it was probably a really garbage book.
But see, I had this absolutely wonderful English teacher in college, and he always said, never differentiate between great literature and basically what's not good writing. Like, read everything. And so I never limited your reading to, when you were young.
It's true.
So
I
it's
think
just as long as you were
you
reading,
just wanted me reading.
that's all that mattered. And you know, sometimes even a book that's not very well written can have little nuggets in it that are really special.
Well, and I remember you saying to me once, because I feel like at one point when I was a young kid, probably like 10 or 11 or something, I never felt like I was a very good reader because I just didn't really read. And I remember you saying, just pick a book that's short, that you can get through really quickly and feel that sort of sense of accomplishment that you've finished a book. And I think so that came a lot with those sort of movie books. Like, I think I got Shrek and stuff too, like that I'd already been familiar with the story. And so it was really just a fast thing to get through. And then I was like, hey, I finished a book. Yay me. So, yeah, I'm super picky. But I think I'm able to tell better now, especially after going through university.
Of course.
But I think I'm pickier about sort of like nonfiction essay work than fiction.
Because sometimes the plot or story just drives it, and
exactly, it doesn't really matter. But like with an essay or something, it's like the writing really is important. So
I guess that's probably it.
yeah,
But in each of our videos coming up, we're going to give you some recommendations.
yes.
And but hopefully you got a few today anyway that you can start with.
This was probably a really long video.
It was. Sorry.
Oh well. You guys can skip around if you need to.
Yeah.
But we hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you.
Take care.
Yes. Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Stay inside.
Stay inside. Read.
Read.
Stay inside and read. Get creative.
Lots of options.
Practice your music. We love you all.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.